Part 26. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 252. The level 3 knight's crossbow was aimed at Rudolph, and Rudolph had to keep changing the route. The level 3 plague-carrying witchcraft device on Fenton's body, the syringe, made many of Rudolph's methods useless. The effect of scorpion toxin was reduced, and the level 3 heartbeat earplugs were useless. During the dive, Rudolph and Fenton looked at each other, always staring at each other. A huge water column emerged around Fenton again, with a diameter of 10 meters, protecting Fenton's entire body in the thick water column. The water column hit Rudolph with a huge impact force. Rudolph's iron batwing area was too large, and it was easy to be hit by the water column. Just when Rudolph was captured by the water column, Fenton raised his crossbow. The crossbow was aimed at Rudolph, and this time, Rudolph could no longer move quickly. At this moment, Fenton suddenly looked to the side. Another person rushed out from the Rhone River behind him. The Blood Clan traitor Vanya. Wizard Rudolph was just a bait to attract Fenton's attention. Vanya was Rudolph's killer move. Rudolph was already very skilled in this tactic. A blood tangent suddenly rolled towards Fenton's waist. Fenton certainly knew this blood tangent. If he was cut, he would be cut in half. Fenton quickly changed his target and pointed the crossbow at Vanya. The crossbow machine with a white light started, and the crossbow arrow shot towards Vanya's heart, and the blood tangent also wrapped around Fenton's waist. The next moment, a hazy white light appeared on Fenton's waist. Another magic weapon made of a knight's relic. Fenton had a lot of good things on him, and under the robe was a chain mail. The blood tangent scratched on the chain mail, making a harsh sound, but it could not cut through the level 3 knight's chain mail. The long life of the Blood Clan gave them a coveted accumulation. Perhaps over a long period of time, the Ravno family secretly killed many nobles. The Revno family also experienced the alchemists' constitutional revolution. Perhaps at that time, the Revno family collected a lot of knight relics. The distance was too close, and the knight's crossbow arrow shot through Vanya, and the powerful kinetic energy of the crossbow arrow smashed Vanya back into the river. Rudolph broke away from the water column at this time and continued to dive towards Fenton. Fenton was a little frightened. This Fabreau city was too dangerous. He was besieged by 2 level 3 apostles without knowing it. Fenton thought that he didn't need to fight to the death with 2 dangerous heretics here. Under his feet, the soft soil became softer. The silt would form a vortex and take Fenton away from here quickly. However, when his knees entered the silt, Fenton was suddenly shocked. Something appeared in the silt, blocking his feet and preventing him from falling again. On the other side of the Rhone River, Utcher inserted his oak cane into the soil with force. For a moment, in the mud under Fenton's feet, the roots of plants grew rapidly, forming a large net underground, and Fenton could not escape through the soil at all. The vines drilled out of the mud and entangled Fenton's legs. Rudolph heard the sound of bone cracking. The power of those vines was so great that Fenton's leg bones were crushed in an instant. Fenton was also a ruthless man. I don't know what kind of magic weapon he used, but he directly cut off his legs. A water column appeared beside him again, and the water column took him like a tornado, trying to rush into the Rhone River and escape from the river. But Rudolph was already hovering on the river surface. This time, he would not give Fenton a chance to escape easily. One purple fireball after another shot out from Rudolph's hand and slammed into the water tornado. At the same time, the water plants in the Rhone River also grew wildly, filling the entire river surface in just a moment. The black and green water plants prevented Fenton from escaping. Under Rudolph's all-out attack, the riverside became scorching. Fenton failed to enter the Rhone River after all. He retreated to the shore. With the presence of the Druid, he did not land, but floated in the water column he created. A large amount of blood flowed from the broken leg, dyeing the water column he created red. It must be said that the scene when the Cancer Wizard took action was much bigger than that of other wizards. I just don't know how long he can hold on when the upward water column washes his broken limbs. Rudolph, west. Utcher reminded from behind. Rudolph turned his head and looked to the west. Several vampires flew in the sky in the west. They were from the Revno family. Fenton was covered in water and was in a mess, but his face was no longer ugly. How could the Revno family bear to let such a useful wizard like him die here? Hera looked at the mess in front of her, the poisonous smoke, the purple mist, and the mud on the shore like a flood. There were two enemies, the wizard Rudolph and a druid. Another level 3 vampire Huntington will be in charge of the mines, while she will be in charge of Fabreau City. Neither of them has the opportunity or time to sleep and seek opportunities for promotion. Hera was followed by less than 10 level 2 vampires. Compared with the prosperous time of the Revno family, the current Revno family is miserable and pitiful. Therefore, Master Fenton, who has never abandoned the family, is even more precious. Just when Hera was glad that she arrived in time, she suddenly saw a scene that made her heart stop. Rudolph rushed to Fenton, and Fenton waved his hand. The water in the Rhone River suddenly surged, trying to wrap Rudolph. Fenton had a contemptuous smile on his lips. Even if he didn't let him escape, how could anyone beat him by the river? The water level of the Rhone River suddenly surged, and for a moment, the river swallowed Rudolph. Fenton didn't feel happy for long before he found that his control over the river water was delayed. He looked up at the druid on the other side. The druid was the darling of the goddess of nature. The river was the milk that the goddess of nature nurtured the earth. Fenton's star power naturally had less control over the river than the druid. This druid is really annoying. Just like the plague is against the scorpion wizard, the druid is very against the cancer wizard. Just as Fenton raised his crossbow toward the druid, his throat suddenly tightened. Behind Fenton, a dense bundle of water plants spread out, and a figure emerged from the water plants. The moment he lost control of the river water, the druid actually hit a person in the water plants. Fenton is good at controlling water. Fenton will definitely find him if he hides in the water, but it is different if he is covered by aquatic plants. The water plants broke off one after another, and a bloody thread pierced out of the water plants and pierced Fenton's throat. Vanya! How dare you? Hera was desperate, but she could do nothing. Vanya, who was shot through the heart by a knight's crossbow and was supposed to die, launched a sneak attack at this time. This is what Fenton is most confused about. The weakness of the vampire family is the heart. If the heart is shot through, many abilities attached to the blood will not be realized. However, the vampire trader Vanya was still able to move after being shot through the heart. The waters of the Rhone receded, and both Rudolph and Vanya appeared on the surface. Rudolph raised his hat to Hera in the distance and said hello. At his feet was the dead Fenton. Hera didn't respond at all, turned around and ran away. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 253. Rudolph was looking at Hera who was running away, while Butcher was looking at Vanya with doubt. Your silent friend still has a hole in his heart, is it okay? Oh, it's just a minor injury, it's okay. In order to prove that he was okay, Vanya fished Fenton's body out of the water and threw it on the shore. Butcher was more and more confused. The ability of the vampires came from blood, and the heart could be said to be their most important organ. This heart had a hole, and it didn't bleed, but it didn't affect the action. Butcher, choose a level 3 magic weapon. That's not good, I'm also avenging those dead druids. Rudolph gritted his teeth and said, I advise you to choose quickly, because I will regret it at any time because of the pain, and then you will lose a level 3 magic weapon that originally belonged to you. Then I'd better not be polite. Butcher quickly picked up the level 3 knight crossbow, which was Fenton's strongest magic weapon. Butcher admired his vision. Rudolph kept telling himself to be generous. He should not be stingy with his partners. He was so moved that he almost cried. Butcher thought about it and found a reason for himself. Druids are used to using bows and arrows. I think this crossbow is quite suitable for me. I will definitely make the most of it. What you said makes sense. Then you can take this level 3 knight crossbow, but you have to be careful not to be seen by Viscount Savin. Don't worry, I will be careful. Then I will leave first. Butcher was ready to leave immediately. He was afraid that Rudolph would regret it. Before leaving, Butcher couldn't help asking again, is your friend who never speaks really okay? The arrow wound of the knight's crossbow is not so easy to recover, but Vanya shook his head and indicated that he was fine. In fact, Vanya was indeed fine. Vanya was between the living and the dead. He could be destroyed, but he would not die. After Butcher left, Vanya also disappeared in Rudolph's hands, and Rudolph began to count his gains. Level 3 Plague Doctor Syringe, a healing magic weapon that is much stronger than Rudolph's Level 2 Plague Doctor Sprayer. Level 3 Knight Mail Armor, which can provide Rudolph with very strong defensive capabilities. The remaining are some Level 2 magic weapons, which are of no use to Rudolph now. Sell them all at the next Black Gold Exchange Trade Fair. It's too slow to make magic weapons by yourself. It's faster to grab them. 2 Level 3 magic weapons and 7 Level 2 magic weapons instantly made Rudolph heavy. In addition, Fenton has 2 relics in his hand, but unfortunately they are all Level 2 relics. They can be used to light up the star map, and the magic weapons made are of no use to Rudolph now. The 2 relics disappeared in Rudolph's hands, and continuously lit up the 3 stars of Pisces on the star map, bringing the progress of Pisces to 12/15. More importantly, it is the wizard crystal shining with starlight between Fenton's eyebrows. This is the second wizard crystal obtained by Rudolph. Taking out the scalpel, Rudolph carefully cut towards Fenton's brow. The wizard's brow bone is the first step to receive star power. Every time the star power enters the wizard's body from the brow, it will become a wizard crystal when the brow bone is taken out. The scalpel is very sharp and quickly cuts out the crystal. The crystal disappears from Rudolph's hand. Rudolph closes his eyes. In the star map in his mind, a meteor streaks across the sky and flies to the star field of Pisces. The Pisces Omega star is lit up, and the progress of Pisces has reached 13/15. 3 suspended stars fall from the Pisces Omega star, which is Rudolph's reward. Level 3 Turbulence, Level 3 Waterspout, Level 3 Dark River Ring. Level 3 Turbulence and Level 3 Waterspout are both witchcrafts on how to use a large amount of water to fight. Rudolph doesn't need them very much. He now has a lot of witchcraft language, and these witchcrafts can also be developed slowly by himself. The Level 3 Dark River Ring and the production method of the Level 3 wizard weapon made Rudolph's eyes go straight. If this wizard weapon helps Rudolph, then Rudolph's combat power will be greatly improved. Rudolph will also make up the last wind sign of the wizard language. After throwing Fenton's body into the Rhone River, Rudolph returned to the city first and waited patiently for the arrival of February. The Level 3 Dark River Ring requires the Aquarius Moon wizard language. After waiting for more than half a month, Rudolph finally waited for February, the Aquarius Moon of the wizard month, also known as the Aquarius Moon. Rudolph came to the Rhone River and found a stone ground. After drawing the astrological triangle with the starstone, Rudolph first placed the Level 3 wizard crystal in the left circle of the astrological triangle. This crystal can also be called the Cancer crystal, which has many characteristics of the Cancer wizard. He also placed a sapphire ring of his own choice in the right circle. This ring cost him 1 gold shield, and it was a very expensive piece of jewelry. Rudolph was not short of money now, and the appearance of this magic weapon had to match his status. After putting the items away, Rudolph looked up at the starry sky, ready to receive the star power. First, the Cancer star power, a beam of star power fell from the Cancer star field. Cancer has the characteristic of accommodating everything because of the huge ghost star cluster in its abdomen. The first magic language used in the level 3 Dark River Ring is the Cancer magic language accommodation. The star power gathered in Rudolph's abdomen, and it took more than 10 minutes to reach the limit of accommodation. Cancer wizards are wizards with the largest star power among all wizards, which is their advantage. Just like when Fenton took action, the scene was huge. After accumulating almost all the star power of Cancer, Rudolph's eyes also fell on the second constellation, Aquarius. The image of Aquarius is a handsome young man holding a vase and pouring water out. If Cancer is in charge of collecting, then Aquarius is in charge of releasing. The witchcraft used in the level 3 Dark River Ring is the Aquarius witchcraft eruption, which allows the water in the vase to erupt quickly in a short time. Aquarius, like other wind signs, is good at controlling a certain state in motion. The Aquarius witchcraft eruption will give the attack a very fast initial speed. After learning the witchcraft of this constellation, Rudolph will release witchcraft more explosively in the future, and he can quickly release his star power in a short time. Under the influence of the Aquarius witchcraft eruption, the star power accumulated in Rudolph's body suddenly poured into the astrological triangle from under his feet. The two kinds of star power wandered in the starstone powder, rolled up the level 3 Cancer crystal and sapphire ring, and poured into the top ring of the astrological triangle. Soon, Rudolph's level 3 wizard, the Dark River Ring, was completed. Rudolph picked up the ring and put it on his hand. He came to the river with the ring and raised his hand. In an instant, the water level of the Rhone River dropped by half, and endless water flowed into the Dark River Ring. These waters collected by the Dark River Ring will fight for Rudolph in the future. Rudolph, like Fenton, will use huge water flows like mountain torrents. Rudolph looked at the surging river water disappearing in the Dark River Ring and asked the same question as Fenton: whose relics should I use to advance? This is a question. He has learned the wizard language of the 3 wind signs. The level 3 wizard has come to an end. It's time to figure out how to advance to the level 4 wizard. The 2 chairmen of the Alchemy Council, Viscount Savin, the guide of the Black Gold Institute, the old Thor who has stopped caring about the affairs of the Thor family, and some people who are hiding deeper, who should be chosen. Vice Chair Abel, the guide of the Black Gold Institute, these 2 people are our own people, and we can't do anything about them. Chair Quint. Viscount Savin. The old Thor known as the Stingy Guy. The chief priest of the evil god. Each one sounds a bit exciting. The next day, in the lower reaches of the Rhone River, Wukiel stood by the river and was a little distressed. He was cultivating a forest, but why did the water level drop so much today? Where is the water? Where did the river water go? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 254. Late at night in Fabreau City, in front of the Speaker's office of the Alchemy Parliament, Avery knocked on the Speaker's door. Speaker Quint was still working hard, wearing thick reading glasses and looking at the documents with difficulty. Oh, it's Avery. Is the mining area going well recently? Speaker Quint put down the document and looked at Avery across from him. Avery cleared his throat before saying, "Dear Speaker, I need to tell you something. Mines number 3 and number 4 in the Ruhr mining area are in urgent need of miners. Originally, Riefner was responsible for this matter, but Riefner's daughter Hera found me and said that their power had received a serious blow again. The spokesperson of the Ravno family in Fabreau City, the Cancer wizard Fenton, was killed by the Scorpio wizard Rudolph. Cancer wizard Fenton was originally collecting blood samples, but Scorpio wizard Rudolph had very strict control over the blood center. The Revno family was unable to obtain blood samples at all, so they were unable to create blood servant miners. During the night of blood mist, the people in Dordo district failed to become blood servants, causing the two mines to have extremely low mining efficiency. The people in Dordo district are well protected, but we are still in urgent need of miners. Everton said with difficulty. Dear Speaker, these are the causes and consequences that are difficult for me to deal with. It's early February now, and I think if we take countermeasures now, there is still a possibility of remediation. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, the first quarter financial report will be ugly, and I'm afraid we won't be able to share a lot of profits. Speaker Quint's eyes were hidden behind thick reading glasses, and his eyes were flickering and unfathomable. There is nothing Avery can do this time. There are some things that he, the executor, cannot change. If the profits promised to the big shots cannot be made, the anger of the big shots will burn down the fledgling Thor Trading Company. Speaker Quint pondered for a while and then said, Avery, I know, I will think of some ways. You still need to worry more about the Ruhr mining area. Avery quickly stood up and left the office. When he was walking in the corridor, he saw Representative Jem walking towards the Speaker's office, and the two exchanged warm greetings. The former director of the Judicial Department is now a member of Parliament and is a popular figure in front of the Speaker. Jem stayed in the Speaker's office for a long time before leaving. Wearing a hood, he left Fabreau City and arrived at Mondo town overnight. The wolf tide destroyed the four surrounding towns. Now Fabreau City relies entirely on Mondo and gas for food. The town of Mondo belongs to the Vicomte de Savant and is the largest town outside Fabreau. Outside the town of Mondo, in a small farm village, there is a tall stone house. The walls are made of stone, and the dome is also made of stone. This kind of house is very labor-intensive to build, and of course, the cost is also high. It's not like a small village can afford such a building. Jem's arrival attracted the attention of the dome, and some people came out of the dome to greet him. When he entered the building, he first saw 7 statues of gods. He looked up at several statues with interest. It was very interesting. He had seen the statue of the harvest goddess before, but now the statue of the harvest goddess became more gentle and kind, and the wheat ears in the hands of the statue became heavier and heavier. Director Jem, I didn't expect you to come here. Priest Jessica, I am no longer the director of the tribunal, I am just an ordinary counselor now. Jessica looked at the 4 followers behind Jem, and she was sure that these people were witch hunters from the Inquisition. I wonder if Representative Jem is here. What's the matter? Jessica was a little confused, wondering why this alchemist suddenly appeared here. I think we need a place more suitable for talking. There were not only several main priests of the evil god, but also some low-level servants and priests, which made Jem feel a little crowded. Jessica led the way, and Jem and several priests entered a shed. Jem looked around and saw that this place used to be a farmer's kitchen, and the stove had been transformed into a table, which looked nondescript. Obviously, the living conditions of these priests were terrible. Jem sat on a stool, which had no backrest, making him a little uncomfortable. In front of him were the chief priests of the 7 evil gods in Fabreau City. He first said to Jessica, Priest Jessica, we were rivals before. When you caused the insect plague, my responsibilities were limited. I once led people to attack your harvest church. But now the situation has changed. I am no longer the director of the judicial office. Fabreau City, it's not the original city of Fabreau either. Jessica said nothing, not knowing what Jem wanted to do. During the original operation of the trial office, the power that Jessica had accumulated in Lehman Town was wiped out by the tribunal. If Jessica had not found a new idea of sacrifice to the insect nest, she would have gained nothing. Speaking of Lemon Town, Jessica suddenly thought of that special witch hunter, Yanling Kevin. Kevin's prophecy crystal is still in her hand, becoming part of her chaotic memory. Facing the 7 heretics, Jim was not nervous at all. He said slowly, A lot of big things have happened in Fabro City recently, and I think you all know it. Rievno was promoted to a level 5 vampire, and the Rievno family also controlled the mines in the Ruhr mining area. Participating in the wilderness mineral trade allowed the Rievno family to earn a lot of money. I heard that the Rievno family is establishing a blood smuggling trade route. They are developing well and have been purchasing blood from other cities in the kingdom through Thor Trading Company. Once the Rievno family takes control of the blood smuggling business, they can become a significant vampire family in the wilderness. Jem paused for a moment to let the priests digest the news. There are also werewolves. Red Wolf King Weston, and his werewolf tribe is responsible for transporting minerals from the Ruhr mining area to the city of Fabro. The werewolves dragged the trucks through the more than 100 kilometers from the Ruhr mining area to the city of Fabro. With the money they received, they bought everything they could buy in Fabro City. Salt, iron, clothes, everything. Werewolves live like savages, they lack everything. I heard that the Red Wolf King Wyston is planning to build a power station, and he is purchasing a complete set of equipment for the power plant. He is ready to build a werewolf city in the wilderness, and his tribe will represent wealth and nobility. After finishing speaking, Jim wanted to drink something, but the life of these evil god priests was too barren and he didn't prepare anything. The priests know that Fabro City has been very lively recently, but this liveliness has nothing to do with their evil god church. Jessica couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Jim, what do you want to say?" Jim stood up. "I can give you a benefit. Priest Jessica, you will get news soon. In Mondo Town, you can build a temple of the harvest goddess openly and spread the faith of the harvest goddess. And the other evil gods." Jim glanced around at the other chief priests of evil gods. "If you can cooperate with me and achieve my goal, then I can also ask the parliament to pass a bill to allow certain evil gods to establish temples." "What is your purpose?" Jessica knew that the Alchemy Council would not give out benefits for no reason. They must be seeking greater benefits. Population. People who are willing to go mining in the Ruhr mining area in the wilderness. If this requirement cannot be met, then blood samples from ordinary people in Dordo district can also be met. If any sect can meet our requirements, we will let his temple open throughout the entire city of Fabro. The 7 chief priests looked at Jem's leaving figure, each one ready to make a move. Knowing that Jem just wanted to let several major evil god sects compete, the chief priests could not resist this temptation. Opening a temple openly and exchanging faith for rewards from the evil god. Which priest can resist such a temptation? Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 255. Rudolph came to the Baron's study and saw a frowning Jennifer. The Baron's messenger sent a letter to Rudolph, saying that he wanted to ask Rudolph something. "What's wrong, Jennifer? Are you experiencing any difficulties?" Jennifer nodded. "Rudolph, do you remember the insect plague?" "Of course I remember, that kind of aphids caused no harvest in Lehman Town for a whole year." Rudolph asked. "I haven't heard about the insect plague. Did you meet the insect high priest Jessica?" "Jessica is very powerful. At the Black Gold Institute, Rudolph heard that the Black Queen has become a level 4 priest. Her strength has improved by leaps and bounds, and the evil god Insect Nest appreciates her so much." "That's not true. They have been very honest since the last attack on the evil god's nest." Jennifer was very depressed. "Viscount Saywan talked to me. He heard some rumors that the evil god's insect nest might make another move this year. The city of Fabro is very vulnerable, and the city's food is supplied by the towns of Commando and Guess." What the Viscount meant was to allow the insect high priest to build the temple of the harvest goddess, otherwise there would be another insect plague and people in the troubled Fabro city would starve to death again. The Viscount said that he would turn a blind eye in Mondo Town and let the Harvest Church build a temple in exchange for them not harming the wheat fields. He also persuaded me not to openly target the high priest. Rudolph just sighed, not knowing what to say. Sometimes a small idea from a big shot can be a crushing mountain for ordinary people. He didn't know why Viscount Sayhuan compromised and allowed the evil god Hive to build a temple. Monitor the evil god priest first. If something out of control happens, call me. When Rudolph returned to the almshouse in a bad mood, he saw Cooper waiting for his meal. After eating, the two rested in the reception room of the almshouse. Cooper was enjoying Rudolph's coffee contentedly and said, "Rudolph, you have been paying more attention to Zack recently. What happened to Zack?" "Zack is very close to some unclean people, I guess it's the priest of pain." "The evil god priest again? What on earth do they want to do? Again? Have you seen other evil priests in Fabreau City recently?" Rudolph nodded. "The evil priests have become active. I don't know what they are going to do." That night, Zack frowned and left the cemetery. He looked back in the direction of the cemetery, looking a little confused. After standing for a while, Zack turned and walked into the darkness. After Zack walks away, Rudolph and Cooper appear at the cemetery gate. "I think I have no problem with Zack's education. Does he have any difficulties?" Cooper replied, "Zack didn't dare to tell you, but he told me that the Redemption Church, that is, the Pain Priests, sent people to find him. He didn't want to cause us any trouble and had to attend the Redemption Mass." Rudolph rubbed his sapphire ring and looked at the direction Zack was leaving. "Go and have a look. Zack is a good boy and cannot go astray." Cooper turned to look at the old Rudolph and said, "Sometimes I think you are 50 years old, but you are obviously only 1 year older than me and 3 years older than Zack. Are you 20 years old this year? I have always been wiser than my age, which makes me so unique. A 20-year-old level 3 wizard, who can believe it? I believe that I am a level 3 living corpse at the age of 19, and you are a 20-year-old level 3 wizards are no big deal." The two giants in the Dordo Giant Alliance followed Zack to the outskirts of Fabreau City. Outside a farm, two people arrived before Rudolph and Cooper. Witch hunters Wayne and Larry were staring at the drying field in the distance. Larry held his divination crystal. "Captain, Jem has been in contact with these people recently. Since the night of blood fog, the behavior of the entire tribunal has changed drastically. Even though it knows where there are heretics, it will not arrest them. Unless those heretics interfere with Thor Trading Company and Rondo Trading Company, otherwise the tribunal will be like a blind man. This makes Wayne's job now very easy, and also gives Wayne plenty of time to investigate the Blood Mist Night." The direction he chose to break through was the former director of the Judiciary Bureau and the now popular Congressman Jim. Congressman Jim only did one thing before the night of blood fog, and that was to allocate manpower to protect the parliamentary complex and the wealthy Brown district. He must know some key information, otherwise he would not have deployed defenses in these important areas in advance. Recently, their investigation finally made a breakthrough. Congressman Jem actually had a lot of interactions with the evil priest. In the grain drying field, the servants of God erected a statue of the Lord of Redeemer. There were more than a dozen arm-thick iron nails inserted all over the body, and these iron nails penetrated the Redeemer's body from different directions. The Redeemer's brows were frowning, but there was a smile on his lips. The upper half of the face was frowning and staring, while the lower half was happy and peaceful, revealing a strange sense of disharmony. Each pain priest has a slate of more than 20 centimeters square. Under the leadership of the main priest, all the priests and servants sit on the ground, prick their fingers with iron nails, and smear the slate over and over with the blood flowing from their fingertips. The statue of the evil god of pain. The uneven statues rubbed the wounds on their fingertips, causing the pained priests to frown, but they could not conceal their joy after pleasing the evil god. This is the content of the redemption mass of the pain priest, using physical pain to stimulate oneself and offering sacrifice to the pain of the evil god. Wayne carefully observed the mass in front of him, wondering what the priests were planning to do. Just after the mass, the chief priest Panner stood up. Servants of the Lord of Redemption, the Lord of Redemption is watching us. The city behind us is now in pain. The blood servants are hungry and bloodthirsty, and the werewolves are cruel and tyrannical. Countless people in the city are waiting for our salvation, waiting to get a moment of peace from the Lord of Redemption. Go spread the faith of the Lord of Redemption. We will use a huge sacrifice to gain the favor of the Lord of Redemption, alleviate our own pain, and alleviate the pain of the lost. Larry understands lip reading, and he told Wayne what the chief priest said. Wayne was a little confused. Is the evil god of pain going to spread their faith on a large scale? The blood servants will not convert to the Lord of Redemption, so it can only be the people in the two districts of Dordo District and the rich district of Brown District. Obviously, the people in Brown District are not in pain at all, and the target of the evil god of pain can only be the people in Dordo District. Poor Dordo District, I don't know what disaster is waiting for them. Just after the mass ended, two people appeared in the distance, walking towards the threshing ground step by step. Captain. It's the wizard Rudolph, and the gravekeeper Cooper. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 256. Wayne saw two heretics negotiating with the priest of pain. The wizard Rudolph pointed at a low-level priest among the priests. Larry looked at the lip reading and guessed the meaning of the sentence. Captain, the wizard seems to want to take away a young priest, saying that the priest is one of theirs, but the priest of pain does not agree. Wayne asked, who is that young priest? Larry recalled the wizard Rudolph's information and said, it should be someone who came out of the almshouse. He used to be a beggar, but for some reason he became the priest of pain. The Inquisition office has established files for every dangerous heretic, and the file on the wizard Rudolph is very detailed. Even the main member of the almshouse, the judicial office, knows this. Rudolph looked at the chief priest Pan in front of him. Pan had a black band around his eyes and looked like a blind man. This does not surprise Rudolph. The pain priests all start by self-mutilation. Panner was obviously blind, but he seemed to be looking Rudolph and Cooper up and down. Pan, the Lord of Pain, wanted to spread his faith in Fabreau City and learned a lot about the situation in Fabreau City in advance. When Rudolph came over, the priest next to Pan had already told him that they were two local snakes from Fabreau City. One was a living corpse who managed the Nanchinj cemetery, and the other was a Scorpio wizard who was in the spotlight. Rudolph said, Mr. Panner, we come to negotiate with you in good faith. Zach is a child who came out of the workhouse. He also has a good job. I hope he returns to work. This request is not too much. Hope you agree. Zach walked out of the crowd and wanted to tell Rudolph that he was okay, but two hands appeared on his shoulders and held him in place. Two level 2 priests held Zach firmly in place. Zach instantly became panicked as his shoulders were held down. Rudolph glanced at Zach's appearance, looking a little unhappy. Wizard, do you think the Lord of the Redeemer will let God's servants leave his command just because of your words? The chief priest Pan looked Rudolph up and down. You are only a level 3 wizard. You should be careful and live like a mouse crossing the street. When will a wizard be so arrogant and ask for help from the great Lord of Redemption? Rudolph frowned. From the tone of this priest, it seemed that he was a level 4 priest. Which level 4 apostle to use for promotion is a big question that bothers Rudolph. Seems like there's a good choice in front of you. Rudolph continued to emphasize, I must take Zach away today. Rudolph's voice stopped abruptly, and the painful master priest Pan in front of him completely lost his patience and took action brazenly. In Wayne's field of vision in the distance, the wizard and the priest of pain started fighting over a disagreement. On one side are about 80 priests of pain, and on the other side are two level 3 heretics. Captain, why did they start fighting? Larry was confused, but Wayne just said, watch carefully and observe their strength. Before Rudolph could finish his words, the chief priest Panner suddenly took action against Rudolph, and his bent crutch suddenly hit Rudolph's shoulder. Cooper's scalp was numb. They were here to negotiate and wanted people, and they had never thought of using force to solve the problem. A knight's sword pierced the soil and blocked the cane of the chief priest Punna. Two crisp collision sounds sounded in the air, and the iron bat wings and the knight's sword blocked Pan's crutch. Blocked by the knight's corpse, Rudolph grabbed Cooper's shoulders and tried his best to retreat, more than 100 meters away in an instant. The knight's body began to glow with a faint white light, and there were chains behind him connected to other knights underground. Soon, a cavalry squad emerged from the ground. Rudolph, who was attacked by a sneak attack, looked ugly. He stumbled when he retreated because the iron bat wing that was hit on the left side was so painful that he couldn't open it at all. If it was the old Wayne, he must be very excited now. There is actually a living corpse holding a level 3 knight corpse. If this matter is detected, it will be a great achievement in the judgment office. But not only Wayne, but Larry too, was very calm. They understand that in the current judicial office, what is the use of solving this case? What if the living corpse holds the knight's corpse? Can it be worse than Revner, who turned half of the city into blood servants? Or can it be worse than the judgment office that condones the vampires? Or can he be worse than Viscount Saywan, who established a trading company before the night of Bloodfog? Panner leaned on crutches and said to the two people in the distance, "You two idiots, do you still think that you can take away the believers of the Redeemer with just a few words?" Panner frowned and looked at the night corpse in front of him, feeling a little troublesome. The living corpse actually had a level 3 knight corpse and an entire cavalry team. "I'm here to stop this knight's corpse, and you go kill those two idiots who blasphemed the Lord of Redeemer." The numerous priests of pain took out their weapons one by one and rushed towards Rudolph and Cooper. But the next moment, they realized that they were the ones with the numerical disadvantage. Cooper stepped hard on the ground, and a black stone tablet emerged from the ground. The atmosphere around the black stone tablet was filled with death. The chief priest Pan's face instantly became serious. This was no ordinary living corpse. More than 300 corpses emerged from the ground, surrounding the pain priests. The characteristic of the pain priests is that they are not afraid of pain, and no matter how serious the injury is, their will not be affected. But corpses are not afraid of pain. Not only are corpses not afraid of pain, they are not afraid of even missing arms and legs. You can pick up a piece from the corpse and use it. For a moment, the priests of pain no longer dared to move. The two heretics in front of them were surprisingly powerful. At least the zombie had the ability to deal with all the priests alone. The corpse of the level 3 knight now also briefly possessed the ability of a level 4 knight. At least it could hold back the chief priest Panner. Panner's means of creating pain were not very effective in front of a corpse. Zach, one of the priests, had an ugly face. This was the scene he least wanted to see. He didn't want to cause trouble for Rudolph and Cooper. This was the suburbs of Fabreau City. Cooper couldn't take out all his collections. He took out 1/3 of them lightly to prove to the priests of pain that the employees of the cemetery were not so easy to take away. Seeing more than 300 corpses crawling out of the ground, Wayne was a little frightened for a while. Such zombies are also the most powerful among the level 3 apostles. At this moment, Larry suddenly saw other evil god priests appearing in the distance. Not only the priests of the evil god in pain, but also the bald white devil priests of the evil god and the priests of the evil god hive with insects entangled around them are all rushing here. "Run first, Captain," Larry looked at so many evil god priests in the distance and hurriedly said to Wayne. But Wayne shook his head because he saw that Rudolph had no intention of running away. Not only did Rudolph not run away, but he was enraged and flew into the air with bat wings, looking down at all the priests. It seemed that even if hundreds of priests came, he would not be afraid at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 257. What is Rudolph going to do? Wayne and Larry looked at Rudolph in the air. He was suspended in the air. Wouldn't he be a living target? They couldn't help but shrink back because there were too many priests rushing over. The priests of several evil gods, one after another, outnumbered the corpses of zombies, and were all surrounding the two daring heretics. Zock's face was full of despair. He thought that as long as he quietly obeyed the senior priests, he would not cause trouble for Rudolph and Cooper. Unexpectedly, Rudolph and Cooper actually found the mass site directly. White Demon Priest, Annihilation Priest, High Priest, almost all the evil gods in Fabreau City gathered here. Today was the day to worship the evil gods. At the beginning and middle of each month, the priests had to perform sacrificial masses to please the evil gods. Jessica also saw Rudolph, the wizard who left a deep impression on her. The high priests rushed to the front, but Jessica's pace was not fast. She always felt that the wizard in Lehman Town was not so stupid. The next moment, Jessica knew why the wizard was so arrogant. The wizard raised his left hand, and he wore a sapphire ring on his hand. It was just a waving motion, but the sound of water waves rang in the night sky, and the surging purple water waves suddenly appeared, gushing out like the flood discharge of a dam. With Rudolph as the center, water waves as high as more than 10 meters appeared around him, as if the Rhone River had changed its course, as if a mountain torrent appeared on the flat ground. The purple flood contained a highly toxic substance, and it rushed towards all the priests around in a sweeping manner. The white magic priests hurriedly used erosion rays to try to eliminate the toxins in the water waves, but the range of the water waves was too large, and these erosion rays were not very effective. In the area illuminated by the white light, the poisonous water will burn into water vapor, and the toxins inside will disappear. But in front of the flood that filled the vision, the thin erosion rays seemed so thin and tiny. Transparent insect wings like dragonfly wings grew on Jessica's back, and the insect wings vibrated at a high frequency, carrying Jessica into the air. Jessica could escape, but the other priests could not. She could only watch the poisonous flood submerge all the priests. The wizard didn't know how much poisonous water he had stored. The waves rushed in wave after wave, and each time the waves were more than 10 meters high. One by one, the priests were swallowed by the waves. They struggled and rolled in the waves, and drank mouthfuls of poisonous water. Hundreds of priests were defeated like this. In the face of this natural disaster like witchcraft, they could not form any decent resistance. The waves passed through and pushed hundreds of priests back dozens of meters. The ground became extremely muddy, with deep and shallow puddles everywhere. The grass and trees on the ground withered instantly, the plants were corroded by the venom, and the juice of the plants evaporated into purple mist. All the priests lay down, only Zack was still standing like nothing happened, and the two level 2 pain priests who were holding him were also washed away to an unknown place. The priests in the puddle on the ground were foaming at the mouth and twitching all over. If the poison cannot be detoxified, these low-level priests will soon die. The Night Corps team stood in front of Rudolph and Cooper, providing them with a sense of security. The other corpses were also approaching the two. Most of the priests had fallen, and the corpses only needed to protect the two. Cooper breathed a sigh of relief. Rudolph was still powerful. He poisoned hundreds of priests with one spell. Rudolph, who had the cancer witch weapon, was not afraid of group attacks like Cooper. The number of enemies no longer affected the outcome of the battle. I think we can talk now. Rudolph's purpose was just to get people, so it seemed much more reasonable to talk about negotiations at this time. The chief priest of pain, Panur, spat out a mouthful of poisonous water. These level 3 toxins had limited effect on him. His ears kept turning. He was a blind man. He knew from the sound that his subordinate priests were groaning and rolling on the ground. Panur was extremely angry. He suddenly raised his hand and tore off the cloth covering his eyes. He looked up suddenly and stared at Rudolph in the air. The eyes under Panner's cloth were actually two eye holes with pus. His eyeballs had long disappeared, leaving only wounds that had never healed. The moment Panner removed the cloth, Rudolph suddenly fell from the air. Even though he had given himself a painkiller with a level 3 plague doctor syringe, Rudolph still felt that his eyeballs were about to explode. In severe pain, blood spurted out of Rudolph's eye sockets, and there was yellow-black pus in the blood. The ability of the level 4 pain priest is that any pain that happens to the pain priest can be inflicted on the enemy. Self-mutilation is part of the ability of the pain priest. Unfortunately, in order to torture the enemy with pain, the pain priest's technique cannot kill instantly. Rudolph waved his hand and threw poison forward before he fainted from the pain. In just a moment, the pain priests behind Panner, the level 1 priests died instantly, at least half of the level 2 priests died, and the level 3 priests were all bruised. If they are not treated, they will die sooner or later. Of course, except for Zach is still like nothing happened. Death continued to spread, not only the pain priests were dying, but other poisoned priests were also dying. Seeing that the level 1 priests with the largest number of people were about to face a catastrophe. Wait. Stop. Jessica vibrated her insect wings and flew towards the two. She had to stop the tragedy from happening. She had seen that the wizard Rudolph was betting that he could poison hundreds of priests to death before Panner killed him. He was also betting that the senior priests would not dare to do so and would definitely prevent the worst from happening. Jessica hurriedly shouted to a tall bald man, Velen. Stop Panner. Velen is a level 4 white demon priest and the chief priest of the evil god White Demon in Fabreau City. A white beam of light lit up from the hands of the white demon priest Velen and shot directly at Panner's head. The next second, Rudolph's severe pain was instantly relieved. The white demon priest's erosion ray hit Panner's head and ruthlessly stopped Panner's spell. Rudolph also heard Jessica's shout, so he stopped releasing the poison. The battle started and ended suddenly. Rudolph covered his eyes, and blood and pus flowed out of his eyes. The painful priest was even worse. Almost in an instant, all the low-level priests were killed or injured. The venom in the dark river ring was so powerful that no one could easily escape from this huge wave of venom. If Rudolph was given a few more seconds, all the low-level priests of the other evil gods would die. Rudolph could use one spell to destroy the servants and low-level priests that the evil gods had collected over the years and destroy their foundation. Except for a few level 3 priests and several level 4 main priests, the others who survived were also twitching and were not far from death. Jessica's angry voice sounded again, "Are you crazy? Weird Star Witch." Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 258. Cooper carried Rudolph's arm and helped him stand up. Rudolph covered his eyes with his other hand, and red blood and black and yellow pus were still flowing out from his fingers. After taking a breath, Rudolph took out the plague doctor sprayer and sprayed his eyes, and then took out the plague doctor syringe and injected an injection under his eye socket. Under the effect of the medicine, Rudolph's eyes felt much better. In addition to the effect of the medicine, Rudolph should be more grateful for his level 3 sensing wolf pupil. The raw material of the sensing wolf pupil is a pair of level 3 werewolf eyeballs. This magic weapon is high enough to save his eyeballs. It has been the sensing wolf pupil that has been bearing Panner's attack for him, otherwise it would be his eyeball that turned into pus. Panner's attack was so unreasonable that Rudolph could suffer the same pain as him. Fortunately, Rudolph has the sensing wolf pupil, otherwise he would be blind now. Using the sprayer to spray the potion into his eyes continuously, Rudolph took out the remnants of the sensing wolf pupil from his eyes. After taking it out and putting it in his hand, he found that only a thin layer of translucent membrane remained in the sensing wolf pupil. Panner on the opposite side was not doing well either. His face was hit by a level 4 erosion ray, and his face was full of blood bubbles, looking as if it was burned by flames. The pus in his eye sockets was much less, and a pair of dark holes could be seen. Jessica could not find a clean place, and there were dark purple puddles and mud everywhere. She hovered in the air and said, "Rudolph, are you crazy? What are you going to do?" Rudolph narrowed his eyes slightly, adjusting to the current vision, and he looked at the evil priests on the opposite side. "You should ask the painful priest on the opposite side. I just wanted to discuss taking someone away, but the blind man attacked me regardless. The current situation is not because I am crazy, but because the blind man is too arrogant." "Why, you want to kill people just because you disagree with me, is it so great?" "I just fought back to protect myself. Not only am I not crazy, but I am also extremely sober. The current situation is my best solution. As long as you don't have the ability to kill me instantly, I can kill all of your low-level priests. I, Rudolph, will be buried with hundreds of priests even if I die here today. I don't know if the painful priest Panner on the opposite side regrets it." Rudolph is really a little scared. He almost lost his eyes just now. Jessica looked at the corpse of the level 3 knight standing in front of Rudolph and hesitated. This is the headache of the knight. He has the ability to become a level 4 knight for a short time on the battlefield. Just like what Rudolph said, they couldn't kill Rudolph instantly, but Rudolph had the ability to poison all low-level priests instantly. Since he had the Dark River Ring, Rudolph's star power has increased exponentially. Not only can he store a large amount of venom in the Dark River Ring, but he can also store star power 3 times his own limit in it. This is the power of this Cancer Witch weapon. After hesitating, Jessica was still unwilling to give up all the low-level priests for this madman. These priests were the executors of spreading the evil god's faith. It was impossible for them, the main priests, to do all the work. She finally said, "What do you want to do?" Rudolph pointed at Zack. "Follow me and no longer listen to your orders." Just for this reason. Jessica was a little unbelievable. She thought that the wizards and zombies in front of her had some unspeakable secrets and plans. Could it be that they were just to take away a level 1 pain priest? Of course, I have no intersection with you, and I don't want to have any intersection. My purpose from beginning to end is just to take Zack away. It's obviously a matter that can be discussed, but it has become so bad in front of me. Why bother? Rudolph can accurately point to Zack, proving that his eyes have slowly recovered. "Aren't you here to do something on behalf of Vice Speaker Abel?" Jessica still didn't believe that the wizard Rudolph's purpose was really a low-level priest. Her first reaction was that their cooperation with Speaker Quint had exposed something. Now is the critical period of the plan, and there must be no accidents. This is also the reason why she was willing to hurt Panner to prevent the conflict. "You think too much," Rudolph said calmly. "If Vice Speaker Abel wanted to deal with you, he would not send me. The Constitutional Army and its artillery would come. I said, I just came to try to talk about whether I could take the children from the orphanage back. I didn't expect that the blind man had such a bad temper." The bad temper main priest Panner slowly put on the cloth strips again to cover his pus-filled eye holes. The blisters on his face burned by the erosion rays were slowly getting smaller. Several main priests stood in front of Panner, but Panner knew that they were all waiting for Jessica, waiting for the order of the main priest of the insect nest. The insect nest was the first evil god to build a temple. The spread of the evil god's faith in Fabreau City needed to rely on Jessica's advice. At this time, the low-level priests of the evil god were poisoned and fell to the ground. Only a dozen level 3 and 4 priests could stand. Rudolph's side looked more powerful. Hundreds of Cooper's corpses stood quietly around Rudolph and Cooper. Especially the night team, which made Jessica feel more pressured. Jessica turned her head to look at the other low-level priests who had fallen, and exchanged views with other chief priests. She pointed at Zack. "You go with them." Zack walked forward in a daze, and finally stood beside Rudolph with his head down. When Rudolph left, he said, "The poisons of other priests will be released naturally in an hour. A few hours later, Jessica confirmed one thing among the many pieces of information. The appearance of the wizard Rudolph was really just for a level 1 pain priest, and was not targeted by Deputy Speaker Abel. Jessica looked at Penn. Sorry, Priest Penn, I thought they had a backup plan. I thought Abel must have discovered something. The wizard Rudolph was here to test us, so I chose to give in first. Now it seems that we have all been tricked by the wizard Rudolph. He has no backup, he is just arrogant. According to the agreement with Speaker Quint, the redemption sacrifice is the most important, and we cannot create any complications at this time to affect the establishment of the temple. Panner also knew that the most important thing during this period was the great plan to sacrifice the evil god, and there was no room for error. He just said, execute our plan as soon as possible. Some low-level priests will be replenished soon. This time the evil priest has the help of the members of the parliament, and he will definitely achieve results that are enough to please the evil god. Okay, Jessica also said, we will help the Redemption Church build a temple as soon as possible. In the near future, we will all build temples of our respective churches in Fabro City to please our evil god. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 259. Larry was extremely excited watching the 3 people and the many corpses going away. Captain. Are the wizard and the zombie so powerful? They just left like that. Why are you so happy? We are both poisoned. Go find Rudolph to detoxify us. The 2 of them were still standing in the poisonous puddle. The venom had already bathed them once, and they were still wet. On the way to catch up with Rudolph, Larry was still expressing his admiration to Wayne. It was amazing that the 2 heretics were able to fight against multiple evil god organizations. Wayne said as he hurried on his way. The zombies are the main factor. In front of the powerful zombies, the number advantage of the evil god priests is useless. Of course, Rudolph is also a ruthless person. He actually has such a powerful large-scale witchcraft. It is not a problem for one spell to attack hundreds of people. And Wayne fell into thought, and Larry couldn't help asking, and what? Wayne is much more experienced. He said, and I think Rudolph is not afraid of the level 4 priests, proving that he may have put the promotion to level 4 wizard on the agenda. If other priests hadn't come, we might have seen wizards hunting high-level relics tonight. Only wizards who have begun to plan for promotion will be so arrogant and eager to try in front of higher-level apostles. Then should we report this precious news to the agency? Of course not. Wayne refused without hesitation. The Judgment Agency is more and more confusing to me now. We have to investigate the Blood Mist Knight and also consider self-protection. Wayne didn't catch up with Rudolph until he entered Fabro City. The poison in his and Larry's bodies was already very light, but they still wanted to find Rudolph to detoxify to prevent future troubles. They had to go to the Dordo District Orphanage first, and waited for Rudolph, who had returned from the cemetery on the street of the orphanage. I know you 2 are also around, and the poison has been detoxified for both of you. Hearing Rudolph say this, Wayne lowered his head and found that he was indeed fine. Isn't this because I'm afraid of hidden dangers? The 3 of them came to a more remote alley, and Wayne whispered, Rudolph, I appeared at the evil god because I was investigating something recently. Rudolph glanced at Larry. With the help of the word spirit, it was easy to investigate anything. I found that Counselor Jem has been very close to the evil god recently. Wayne told Rudolph all the news he had recently received. At first, the evil god's nest built the temple of the goddess of harvest in 2 towns outside. Now many evil god priests have secretly appeared in the Dordo area, and all this is coordinated by Jem. I don't know what Jem and the evil god priests are going to do, but the evil gods are dangerous people. Every time the evil god priests gather, they may cause great damage. I know, I will tell Director Claude to keep an eye on Counselor Jem and ask the counselors what they are going to do. The 2 witch hunters left the alley, and Rudolph felt that the two were pitiful. They were obviously doing the right thing, but they were like thieves. One night 2 weeks later, Wayne and Larry came to a wall. The two witch hunters did not act openly, but squatted on the ground stealthily. They not only had to avoid the evil god priests, but also other witch hunters. "Captain, this is the iron nail I divined. Recently, the evil god priests have laid this kind of iron nail in different places in the Dordo district." Larry's level 2 certificate divination quickly let them know what the evil god priests did, but the two of them couldn't understand. "It's strange, there are this kind of iron nail under many walls." This iron nail was completely nailed into the gap of the stone slab, with only a nail cap exposed. From the nail cap, it can be seen that this is just a very ordinary iron nail. Wayne took out the map of the Dordo district and marked the locations of the iron nails on the map, but he couldn't see any connection between these locations. "Iron nails are generally related to the pain of the evil god, but I don't know what they are going to do." Just as the two were racking their brains to think about the possibility, Larry suddenly raised his head. "Be careful." Several iron nails suddenly shot out from the darkness behind them. The sharp sound of breaking through the air made Wayne's hair stand on end, or Larry's dangerous intuition discovered the danger in advance, and he pushed Wayne to the ground. While rolling on the ground, Wayne saw the people behind him. They were 3 priests of pain. Wayne got new news recently. After the priests of pain were beaten by the wizard Rudolph, they dispatched many priests from other places. The power of the priests of pain became stronger. Wayne looked at the iron nails that had just sunk into the ground. The iron nails were quietly hidden under the wall. This wall must have a very important role. Someone came to fight back against the two of them, proving that their investigation was getting closer to the truth. Make a big scene. This is the Dordo district. There are ordinary people here. The Alchemy Council has not given up here. As long as the scene is made big, it can attract patrolmen. Wayne threw 2 alchemical grenades fiercely. The violent explosion sounded in the night sky, waking up many people around. The smart people did not turn on the lights, but opened a corner of the curtains to look outside. Those who are nervous have turned on the lights and walked out with shotguns. Bayer District and Rondo District are so dangerous now, with heretics everywhere, which makes people in Dordo District more vigilant. Every household carries a gun at any time. When encountering a fight on the street, it is easy to tell who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. Alchemical bullets are for sale, but alchemical grenades are controlled materials. Unless in wartime, the Alchemical Council will not allow ordinary people to possess such a weapon. Therefore, ordinary people with guns can easily tell that the place hit by the grenade is where the criminals are. Those ordinary people with explosive personalities have already fired into the smoke to help the person holding the grenade. The person holding the grenade may be a patrolman or a person from the judiciary. In short, he should not be a bad person. Under the cover of bullets, Wayne and Larry fled the alley. There were patrolmen running on the road, and they were running towards the place where the explosion occurred. Wayne shouted loudly, "There are evil priests over there. Kill them." Wayne took off his cloak, revealing the witch hunter's uniform inside. The patrolman was a dark blue police uniform, and the witch hunter's uniform was pure black. The patrolman saw that it was his own people, took out his gun and joined the battle. With a strong flashlight shining in the alley, Wayne and the patrolman approached carefully. But after the smoke cleared, the priests of pain in the alley had disappeared. Wayne became more and more anxious, not knowing what the priests of pain were doing, nor what agreement Counselor Jem had reached with the priests. In the past, the tribunal would fully investigate these matters, but now the tribunal was like a blind man, not knowing what they were doing. Wayne had a vague feeling that it seemed like the bloody night again, and the evil priests of Fabreau City would create abnormal disasters like the Ravno family. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 260. Sheriff, I think the Dordo district should strengthen its defense. Many evil gods have sneaked in here. Wayne said so to the sheriff who came. The sheriff looked at the explosion site and the iron nails he picked up, and nodded, I will report it to the police station. The Dordo district is the last safe area for ordinary people. There must be no accidents. Wayne was somewhat fortunate that at least the police station was still normal and the people in the police station were still protecting ordinary people. Unlike him, he was like an alien in the Judgment Bureau. The Judgment Bureau of Fabro City studies how to escort the two trading companies every day. This makes the Judgment Bureau like another security department of the two trading companies. After leaving here, Larry asked, Captain, don't we destroy the nail that was nailed into the ground just now? According to my divination, that nail is very important. Wayne shook his head, that nail is just an ordinary nail, not a magic weapon. I guess that nail is just used to mark the location. What's more important is the location information of the nail, not the nail itself. He opened the map of the Dordo district again. We have relatively little information. What we need to do now is to find more nails and speculate what the priest of the painful evil god wants to do. Wayne asked the sheriff for a nail, and the two set off again. This time, Larry will use divination to find the trajectory where the nail has appeared, that is, the trajectory of the original owner of the nail. Larry came to a rooftop and began to receive planetary star power. Divination is not difficult, and the result was obtained quickly. After knowing the trajectory, the two continued on the road, looking for clues. Wayne was very patient and slowly followed the trajectory. They found another wall. The wall was still very ordinary, just the gable of a house, and there was nothing unusual. Ordinary people also lived in this house, and there was nothing worth investigating in depth. An iron nail was still nailed into the wall, with only the nail cap left outside. Wayne took out the map and marked this location on it. As the investigation continued, there were more points on the map. Some points were outside, and some were inside. Suddenly, Wayne straightened up, and he felt that he had discovered something. If these points are viewed as two circles, the points in the inner circle and the points in the outer circle are both centripetal, and seem to be pointing to a certain center. Larry, I seem to see something. Wayne drew a line on the map. The distances between these points in the outer circle are large and small, but they are all on an arc, and these points in the inner circle also seem to be on an arc. The centers of the two arcs point to one direction. This center. Wayne drew a circle at the center of the circle, and in that circle was a slaughterhouse. Just as Wayne was thinking about what might be in the slaughterhouse, he was pushed down by Larry again. Wayne skillfully rolled to one side. Larry could always predict the coming of danger in advance. Sure enough, several iron nails were nailed on the wall. When Wayne turned his head, he saw many evil priests again. This time, there were not only priests of pain, but also priests of insect nests. Run! After throwing two grenades backwards, Wayne pulled Larry up and fled far away. This time, the evil priests were obviously more prepared. On their way to escape, two white magic priests appeared. In this straight alley, the white magic priests can block the entire alley. The white magic priests lit up in their hands, and two beams of light shot straight at Wayne and Larry. Wayne stuffed the map in his hand to Larry. Take the map with you. Give it to Rudolph. Wayne originally wanted to say that he would give it to the Judgment Bureau, but he changed his mind and realized that the only person he could rely on and trust now was the wizard Rudolph. If you want to find someone to help you, don't look for someone who has been helped by you, but for someone who has helped you before. People who have helped you have feelings for you and are more likely to continue to help you. Rudolph was awarded the title of Outstanding Citizen for saving the Dordo district. Wayne felt that Rudolph was the person who had the most feelings for the Dordo district at this time. Rudolph was the most likely person to stand up for the Dordo district. This was really ironic. Wayne, the witch hunter, had to rely on a wizard in the end. Larry fled to the distance without hesitation. Larry had a sense of danger and was more likely to escape in chaos. Just as the white demon priest was about to attack Larry, Wayne threw out several smoke bombs. Once the beam could not shine on the enemy, the attack of the white demon priest would be greatly reduced. There was also a grenade hidden in the smoke bomb, and the flying shrapnel created a huge chaos in an instant. Larry was very familiar with Captain Wayne's attack routine, so he skillfully avoided the smoke bombs and grenades and rushed out. When he looked back, he saw Wayne, who was surrounded. The sound of grenades was much more than expected. Those priests actually had alchemical grenades issued by the judiciary and the police. An unexpected grenade exploded next to Larry. Larry knew that as long as he rushed to the avenue and found the patrolman, he could scare away those evil priests. No matter what, these heretics dared not challenge the official power head-on. Just as he stared at the end of the alley and the street outside the alley, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. He looked up suddenly and saw a vampire falling from the sky. Larry quickly realized a new intelligence, that the evil priests were connected to the vampires. What conspiracy were they working on? It is impossible for the Blood Clan and the evil god priest to cooperate with each other so easily. There must be someone behind the scenes. Senator Jem has been secretly in contact with these heretics recently. It is Senator Jem. Or rather, it is Speaker Quint behind Senator Jem. At this moment, Larry thought a lot. Before the Blood Clan attacked him, Larry hid to one side. Unless it was degenerated into a cursed word spirit, the attack ability of the divination word spirit was mediocre. All Larry could do was dodge. There was a gunshot from behind. It was Captain Wayne who was helping him. Captain Wayne's gun suppressed the Blood Clan's continued attack, allowing Larry to continue to escape. When escaping from the alley, Larry looked back. At this glance, he saw Captain Wayne's last look of pointing his gun at the Blood Clan, and also saw the captain's face that was burned to a human-like state by the White Devil priest's erosion ray. A painful priest nailed an iron nail into Captain Wayne's head. Who would have thought that controlled materials such as alchemical grenades would appear in the hands of the evil god priests, which greatly disrupted Wayne's response strategy and caused Wayne to be seriously injured at the first time. Captain Wayne's forehead was bleeding, and he looked at Larry and slowly fell down. Larry's breathing was trembling, but he fled to the street. He couldn't stop, shouting "Patrol! Where is the patrol?" while running away. In the alley, several evil god priests quickly handled the scene and left. Weird Star Witch. Author, White Silver Black Iron. Chapter 261. Larry suddenly felt very lonely. Wayne was dead. His team suddenly left him alone. He held the map tightly in his hand and walked into the darkness in the distance. It was late at night and all the street lights were off. Although he was in the city, Larry felt that he was alone. What was worse was that the further he went, the more he could feel the danger getting worse. It was as if several demons were roaming in the darkness ahead. At this moment, the prosperous city of Fabreau was like a cold wilderness, making Larry feel helpless. Every dark place seemed to hide a man-eating beast. The several explosions caused by Wayne's death caused panic around him and finally attracted the attention of the patrol. Larry was looking forward to it and waiting. As long as the police came, he would be saved. Several people in robes appeared in the distance. The familiar standard robes were the people from the Judgment Bureau. However, Larry was even more frightened and scared. The danger instinct of the word spirit told him that the witch hunters who came over were the source of danger. Larry stood still. At this moment, he didn't know where to escape. Behind him were the evil god priests and the Blood Clan, and in front of him was the Judgment Bureau. He had no way to retreat. He held the map tightly in his hand. He wanted to do one last thing before he died. If there was anything meaningful, it was to complete Captain Wayne's investigation. He sat there and forced himself to do the second divination tonight. With so many enemies around him, he couldn't escape. He could only wait for death. The map in his hand would definitely be found by them, and he didn't even have the opportunity to pass on the information. He needed divination to divination, the only possibility to complete the investigation. Planetary power entered Larry's head, and Larry's pupils began to tremble. Level 2 word spirit can only do divination once a night. If you force yourself to do a second divination, it will cause a great burden to the word spirit, and the divination results will often be wrong. Blood flowed from Larry's eye sockets, which was the result of overloading the planetary power. Soon, before the others arrived, Larry got the result. He couldn't believe it. Burning the map, calling Rudolph in his heart all the time, and then not doing anything, turned out to be his only chance. Could this convey the message to the wizard Rudolph? Could Rudolph hear what he said in his heart? The word spirit always believed in his intuition. Larry did it without hesitation. He lit a fire in the dark night, burned the map, and then began to recite Rudolph's name in his heart, telling Rudolph that the evil god was performing some kind of sacrifice, and the key to the sacrifice was the slaughterhouse. Larry also kept a watchful eye. He shouted at the night sky, as if communicating something with someone in the distance. "Larry! We are here to save you." A witch hunter rushed to Larry, saying so, and reached out to hold Larry's shoulder. But his other hand inserted an alchemical dagger into Larry's lower abdomen. The burning sensation of the alchemical dagger made Larry defenseless. Another voice sounded behind him, "Don't kill him yet. He seems to have passed on some information before he died. Hand him over to us. We will interrogate what he knows to prevent the plan from being destroyed." Someone said in front of the witch hunter that they were better at interrogation, which did not arouse the witch hunter's objection. Larry was handed over to a painful priest. The painful priest could make people in the pain of madness and could never be relieved. He was indeed a better candidate for interrogation. The alchemical dagger was pulled out of Larry's abdomen, bringing out a little blood, and was taken in the hand of the vampire. While the vampire put the blood into his mouth, enjoying the mellow fragrance of Larry's blood, he stopped Larry's bleeding with his other hand to prevent Larry from dying of excessive blood loss. An iron nail was driven into Larry's neck, paralyzing Larry temporarily and losing his resistance. The forces of several parties left tacitly, as if nothing had happened. Only Larry was dragged into the darkness by the painful priest. Rudolph didn't know what happened, he just felt that it seemed a bit noisy outside. After opening the pet crystal and finding that everything was normal outside the relief house, he fell asleep again. Larry was dragged in a certain direction. He smelled a strong fishy smell. Unexpectedly, he was taken to the slaughterhouse, which was the slaughterhouse marked on the map. In the completely closed basement, the iron nails on Larry's cervical vertebrae were removed, which made Larry's body regain consciousness. "Say. What do you know?" Seeing that Larry didn't speak, the painful priest was not in a hurry. Of course, the longer the pain lasted, the more desperate it would make people. The painful priest began to torture Larry slowly. Larry's palms, soles, joints, and important organs in the chest and abdomen were all inserted with thick or thin iron nails, which made Larry like a cactus covered with thorns. "Say. What do you know?" No matter what the painful priest said, Larry remained silent. He looked forward to death, and also looked forward to the arrival of the only possibility. According to divination, Larry called Rudolph's name over and over again in his heart. This was his only hope to hold on. No matter what the pain priest did or asked, Larry forced himself to focus on calling Rudolph in his heart. His nerves became so sensitive that the pain priest strengthened his pain nerves, but would not kill him. In this dark basement, Larry felt like he was in hell. He didn't know the time, day or night, he just endured and endured second by second. After an unknown number of days, Larry's eye sockets were sunken, there was no fat on his body, and all his muscles had atrophied, making his joints extremely obvious. In Larry's pupils, there was only one last obsession: Wizard Rudolph, where are you, when will you come to take away the information? The painful priests were very busy. In this temporary prison, not only Larry was there, but also many people were locked up slowly. This one meets the conditions for sacrifice. This man lost his son in middle age, and his son was bitten to death by a blood servant, but he could not avenge him. His pain was enough. This one is not bad either. His mother was humiliated and died in front of him, and he still wanted to save money to buy a gun to avenge his mother. He lived such a hard life at such a young age. His pain was enough. This old man is not bad either. He only found out that the children he had raised for decades were not his own when he was over 50. He was also blocked by an adulterer, and his children did not recognize him. His pain was enough. This woman is not bad. She lay in bed for 5 years and was thrown into the woodshed by her children. She was about to starve to death. Her pain was enough. Larry was treated well. There was a painful priest who tortured him. But the prison next door was getting more and more crowded. The painful priest found many people with tragic fates in the Dordo district and locked them all up here. Miserable people are also silent people. Although there are many people in the prison next door, it is not noisy at all. Those poor people who were carefully selected were very silent. They didn't speak, staring at the ceiling or the floor numbly, or playing with the straw in their hands. These unfortunate people were chosen by the painful priests, and seemed to be sacrifices. Sacrifice, Larry knew that sacrifices usually occurred on the full moon, that is, there would be a sacrifice to the evil god on the full moon of this month, and these unfortunate people were the sacrifices. Those walls nailed with iron nails might be the places for sacrifices, so many sacrifices were needed. This was also a sacrifice for ordinary people, and the sacrifices were not apostles, but unfortunate ordinary people. But what about Rudolph? A few days passed, and Larry still couldn't wait for Rudolph. He didn't know when Rudolph would hear his call.